Good morning, good evening, whatever time of day it is for you. Welcome to this thing that I do called Thor's Entertainment. I am Thor, and today I'm doing another Fatal Friday video. Fatal Friday is a series where I went into the Kombat League for Mortal Kombat 1, and I casually tried to get the Brutalities and Fatalities for various characters against whoever I was randomly paired up against in the Kombat League. This week I'm highlighting a Brutality for the Kameo fighter janetcage. The Brutality is titled For Johnny.
How did you come to be? Thank Shang Tsung's experiments. Take one. Action!
The For Johnny Brutality was actually a really tricky one for me to get. Originally I planned to get all of Janet's finishers while pairing her up with the main character Ermac, but I had to change to the main character Subzero for this Brutality. And Subzero is basically the main character I use for any tricky Kameo Brutality. But to get this finisher, you have to summon Janet in her Stunt Double stance. That's where she stands right beside you and fights side by side with you. Then you have to kill the opponent with an uppercut from Janet while holding down the 2 button, and that leads to Janet uppercutting the head off of the opponent. My opponent in this case is going to be another person using Subzero, but fortunately, this person is using a much different, more distinguishable palette. My Subzero is using a black and red palette, but my opponent is in the blue, white, and silver. Also, they are using a different Kameo, they are using Frost. So, what made this Brutality tricky? Well, it was kind of luck-based whenever I was trying to get it. When combined, it takes more time than I thought to summon Janet and then have her immediately do the uppercut. When testing it out and combining it with a character who can stun the opponent, like using Scorpion's Spear or Sub-Zero's Ice Ball, I found the opponent recovers before Janet can land the uppercut. I ended up testing moves that can stun the opponent like Scorpion's Spear and then Sub-Zero's Ice Ball, and then I would summon Janet, but I found the opponent recovers before Janet can land the uppercut. So I kind of figured out that I needed to summon Janet in advance before stunning the opponent. On top of that, whenever the opponent would be stunned, they would need to be very close to Janet, that way she could uppercut them before they could recover. Oh, and on top of that, you need to do everything I just described and do it before Janet's meter runs out, which happens pretty quickly. And the last mention-worthy thing is that this Brutality only works if Janet is the only one uppercutting. If the main character she is paired up with and is shadowing hits the opponent too, the Brutality will not activate. To keep your character from doing anything while Janet does the uppercut, just hold the block button. If you do that, only Janet will be hitting the opponent. So yeah, the plan going forward is to go ahead and summon Janet, try my best to freeze the opponent, and then hope I'm close enough for her to uppercut their head off. We will see if my opponent is nice enough to comply with that plan. I am just trying to run away and get some more distance now so that whenever I summon Janet, she is not getting immediately hit by the opponent Sub-Zero.
Brutality! Sub-Zero wins.
Well, alright, that was the For Johnny Brutality, and that went simultaneously not according to plan and was also very, very lucky. So it did not go according to plan because I did not intend to freeze my opponent before summoning janetcage. Like I mentioned earlier during all of my testing, anytime I froze the opponent and then summoned janetcage, they would thaw out before Janet could do the uppercut. And that's why I was trying to go with the order of summoning Janet, then freezing the opponent, and then doing the uppercut. So I got really lucky there because my opponent did thaw out before janetcage landed that uppercut, and I have no idea what my opponent was trying to do, but they did not block, so the uppercut still landed and I still got the Brutality. I mean, I will take it, but that is not how I thought I was going to end up getting it. This should be the only video I do with the team up of Sub-Zero and Janet, and I'm a little bit bummed out about that. Janet ended up replacing Serena as my favorite Kameo for Sub-Zero. And this fight is really not a good example of what I'm about to describe, but Sub-Zero, even though he does not do the most damage, he does have a good number of moves that get the opponent in midair, and then you can just summon Janet to keep them in midair long enough with her air punches for Sub-Zero to recover, then continue the combo turning a bunch of stuff into 300 plus damage. Unfortunately, I really do not get to showcase that here. I just kept dropping the combos left and right, and I was really rusty with this team. Like, I failed to get this Brutality a bunch of times at one point, so I took a break from this team to play as other characters, and eventually I came back to Sub-Zero and Janet after a pretty good amount of time had passed. If the For Johnny Brutality wasn't already really hard for me to get, I think I would have just searched for a better fight to highlight in this video instead. Like, I would much rather have really big combos and have a really close set that maybe came down to like a third and final round. But instead I have this fight where I won every single round and I just kept dropping combos. But I got the brutality in the end, and I had failed to do it so many other times that I just kind of said, you know what, I'm taking it. That's going to be the video, I'm fine with it. At this point, all I needed to do was just go ahead and finish this fight, which looked like it was going to be a victory for me, considering I only need to win one more match to win the entire set, and I've already won the first round, so I only need one more to wrap everything up. Although my opponent was doing a pretty good job of trying to stay in this round, I think from start to finish, we were at roughly the same amount of health the entire round, so even if it was maybe a little bit too little too late, my opponent was at least trying to keep things competitive in the end. But yeah, I think I mentioned it already earlier, I do not lose any rounds in this set against this person, so we all know I'm going to win in the end, so let's go ahead and wrap this thing up.
Sub-Zero wins.
I'll be honest, I was actually trying to go for Sub-Zero sliding brutality there at the end because I kind of wanted to wrap everything up in style, but you know, that's fine with me. We got the win and we got the intended for Johnny Brutality, and that is all that matters. So, thank you to my randomly paired up opponent in the Kombat League this time around. I enjoyed the fight, and I'm very happy I finally got that brutality knocked out. And as per the usual with these videos, whenever this video is over, at the very end of the outro, I will show that brutality one final time before we part ways. Now that ended up being a pretty easy fight where I did not lose a single round. And despite dropping pretty much every good combo opportunity I had going, things went really well. Fortunately, my opponent kind of kept going for Sub-Zero's overhead launcher attack, which is super unsafe on block. So even though I kept dropping those combos, my opponent was nice enough to keep giving me openings. And this also happens to be the first Fatal Friday video that I have voiced over since around Thanksgiving, so it's been a little while. I figured I'd go with a short one to get me back in the rhythm of things. Hopefully the audio sounds a little bit better now as well because I made an adjustment to that, and yeah. I have a lot more videos I need to start adding voiceovers for Mortal Kombat 1 so I can continue the Fatal Friday thing that I have going on, which I guess is my cue to go ahead and wrap this thing up. So yeah, thank you for watching the video, I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, feel free to check out the other stuff I have on the Thor's Entertainment channel. I have a lot of other Mortal Kombat related stuff on the channel, but I also have playthroughs of other games as well. Stuff like Resident Evil and Crash Bandicoot, for instance. And I intend to have other games uploaded in the near future as well, so feel free to check it out if that sounds interesting to you. But yeah, thank you again for watching, take care, and hopefully I will see you next time.
Brutality. Sub-Zero wins.